Welcome to Grape and Wine TV. I'm your host, Kimberly Hundertmark, Executive Director of the Niagara Grape and Wine Festival. This show's all about wine in Niagara, from the vineyards to tastings to events, all experiences that you can look forward to when you visit the Niagara Peninsula, one of the most preeminent wine and culinary destinations in Ontario. We're going to invite you to meet all of the storytellers, all of the interesting characters that make Niagara such a wonderful, world-class destination. Join us from vineyard to harvest to bottle, all at Niagara Grape and Wine TV. Behind us we have Lake Ontario and also the beautiful vineyards here at Fielding Estates, where they grow some of Niagara's most premium wines. We're going to be talking to Heidi and Curtis Fielding in just a few moments and get their thoughts about the bench, Niagara, and summer. Now, Heidi and Curtis, one of the great things about my job is that I get to actually work with people that I love, and you two are a fine example of a couple that I personally enjoy hanging out with.
Thank you.
I think that in our industry we're really lucky that it's one big extension of family, but that's an important part of what Fielding's all about. Now, the family came together, well, you just celebrated your 5th anniversary, but the idea to plant the vineyards here on the bench, when did all of that sort of take root?
It actually took root. It took 3 years to find the property. My father was driving around the peninsula and met a couple gentlemen down here, and they ended up having our real estate agent and him had quite a few glasses of wine one night, and they talked about this property, and they came up here and looked at it, and it was an old Concord vineyard, and it had some peaches and pears on it that were pretty run down, and it was the ideal spot because we had a great view of Lake Ontario, and it was in a nice hub of wineries as well.
And that really, the bench itself has just sort of gained notoriety in the last, I'd say, 5 years actually, so your timing was perfect.
People know the Beamsville bench, so that's been really good for us.
I think that especially in our market, visitors from Toronto, they tend to stop here in the bench first, and you know, great events like Graze the Bench, and you do a number throughout the year, including our tailgate party, which is coming up, which I will still thank you for always coming up with that wonderful idea. But there is something unique about the bench. There's something about the personality of the bench, and your winery was celebrated for exactly that, personality and hospitality. What exactly was that? Was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
2 years ago, just before we celebrated our 5th anniversary at the winery, we were voted top 10 winery in Canada, which is amazing for us. We're pretty small, so we took that really to heart, and we were really proud of that. We've won tons of awards and newspaper articles on just basically our hospitality and how friendly our staff are, and it's been great. People know us, they feel like they're family when they come up the walkway, and they're recognized, and that's gone a long way for us. You know, the bench is a great area for distinct and delicious premium wines, but I think we've done quite a bit aside from the wines with our hospitality, and people just love coming here. So.
And I think the marketing part of what you do here as well, you're very active with social media.
Yeah.
You're you don't have time, but you have 2 babies at home.
Like, oh yeah.
But I mean, just the social media side, your website, activities that you do here for not-for-profit events, but you also do a number of really cool events throughout the year, and you just enjoy and you're passionate about what you do. And the fact that you're a team and you work together as a partnership is really reflected with your staff, your wines, I mean, everything about it. And this building is, architecturally, is absolutely stunning.
Thank you. We love the building. Curtis and his family are from Minden, Ontario, which is cottage country, essentially. And so when we thought of what kind of a building we wanted the winery to look like, we definitely wanted it to sort of emulate cottage country, to have that relaxed, natural feel. And our architect came up with a more current, modern day design, which we were really pleased with. So a lot of cedar, a lot of glass, and you really see nature like come inside all the time, which is great. We love it.
Well, you're right in the world's biosphere, right?
Definitely soil and the location. We're very close to Lake Ontario, so we get a nice cool breeze in the summer, and it really helps with we find with our white wines, the aromatics. We grow a lot of Riesling up here. In the winter, the lake acts as like an oven, so the lake never freezes, so we actually get a little bit of warmth from that up in, so it keeps our vines protected. As you know, in Canada, we get some very cold temperatures. And luckily enough, down here in Niagara, we're in the banana belt, so we grow some phenomenal grapes down here. And being on the Beamsville bench is great, but having Lake Ontario out there really helps us as well.
You've got the backdrop of the Niagara Escarpment. You have Lake Ontario to the north. You even have your Muskoka chairs to get us a little bit comfortable here. I mean, it truly is an escape when you come to visit Fielding, and we invite everybody to come and check out Fielding, check out your wines, and especially your events. Why don't we go and taste a little bit of wine? I know we're in the stainless area right now, but maybe we'll get serious out at the Graze the Vineyard event.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Welcome to Reif Estate Winery, home of 13th generation winemaker Klaus Reif, also known as the man that's taught me almost everything I know about wine. Let's meet Klaus.
Who's alles wieder?
Hey, Kim.
Hi.
Hello, Kimberly.
How are you? Hi,
How
Klaus.
are you?
Guys are tasting some wine this morning.
Yeah, we're just trying our 2007 Meritage here.
Wow, it's been a long time, hasn't it?
Oh my God, you know.
1993, I think, was the first time I met you, and this became one of my favorite places. Now, can you tell me a little bit about the German oak barrels, because they are very unique to Niagara and to Reif Estate Winery?
Actually, they're truly unique. Those barrels actually came from my parents' winery back in Germany. And when we started up here in 1982, we brought them over, and actually piece by piece, we took them apart, and every stave was numbered in the back. We put them in a big container and shipped them over here. So they are truly unique, not only for the area, also very unique for us as well.
So what do you age in these barrels?
We have right now white wines in there. We have our Riesling in there, and mostly Rieslings actually we use those barrels for.
Now these barrels are actually quite old as well.
They are actually, they're older than me, those barrels. So those barrels are around 1955 to 1960, and those years they were built.
And how long do you use these barrels for?
Well, it depends how we treat them. I mean, those barrels have a lifespan, and if you're careful and treat them well, they can last another 50 to 100 years.
Now, this building that we're in actually has a lot of tradition and history behind it. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Actually, we are right now in our winery building, original winery building, and was built in 1873. It was an old coach stop, and was horses in here. And when we bought the property back in 1977, this building came with it, and then was later remodeled for a winery.
So many wonderful stories, and that's what makes Reif Estate one of my favorite places when I'm stopping with guests from around the world as a destination. One of the most exciting stories that I like to talk about Reif is the fact that you and Klaus have been truly a winemaking team since he came here. You've been here since 1988.
I came.
88.
Yeah.
Wow, and that's truly, I mean, that's a
long
passion.
time, yeah.
It's traditions. The two of you have grown together, and now you're, I would think, one of the dynamic winemaking teams here in Niagara. And this year, you've launched a couple really cool products that I'd love for you to enlighten me a little bit about them, because I'm not entirely sure about the process with the kilns and what you're doing.
That's a project we started in 2009, and we had the idea to make a certain style of wine called the Passamento style wines, and that is taking grapes, laying them out and having them dried, and you're basically drying out the water and you're concentrating the fruit and some of the flavors. Similar to what you would do in ice wine. In ice wine, we're freezing the water. In a Passamento style, you're drying the water out of the grapes. So we had the idea to bring in these tobacco kilns, and we refurbished them so we can dry grapes. So we've been experimenting the last couple of years, drying some grapes and producing some red wines. And most recently, we had our release with the Magician. And this is a Shiraz Pinot Noir blend, and we took these grapes, we hand harvested them, put them in the kilns, and allowed them to dry up to about 30%, and then we processed the fruit as we would a regular wine. So what you're getting is much more intensity, deeper, heavier wine.
And so you do it with predominantly the Shiraz and the Pinot, or are you using other red varietals?
Specific to red, another thing that we did with the kilns is we did a Riesling TBA.
Right.
And so we basically used the kilns to promote botrytis infection of the grapes, and that sort of spread to, we get 100% TBA, or botrytis affected grapes. And then we just released this wine as well, which is, again, is a product of the kilns.
Now tell me, as far as another product that I understand it's a couple years old now, so the First Growths. What is that all about?
First Growth is, we set out back in 2000, we set out to sort of create wines that were the most expressive of our vineyards. So they're very site-specific. They're very specific to Reif vineyards. And we set in some internal standards to create the most intense, expressive wines for this vineyard as we could make. And that is the First Growth series. So we set standards on the age of the vineyards, quantity per vine, no filtration, sort of done to the maximum potential of this vineyard. And to date, since 2000, we've done 3 vintages, and 2010 will be the next one.
I was going to say, you had to have done something for 2010.
You couldn't have missed 10.
Of course not.
10 is pretty.
Now, anything other than these products that's new and exciting?
Trend is another product we released a couple years ago, and that is a private label brand that we do for Stephen and Chris, which is a CBC show. They're also known as the Designer Guys. They've done a few programs on Home and Garden TV. So we struck a relationship with them through a common acquaintance. And so we designed two specific wines, and they're very trendy and very, you know, eye candy on the label, and they're very nice packaging and that. But the wines are exquisite, really fresh, beautiful Chardonnay Pinot Grigio, and we have a Merlot Cabernet as sort of the trend red.
And they're sold through the LCBO?
Sold through the LCBO.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now, how many acres do you have here at Reif?
We have the whole property is 125 acres.
That's pretty significant in Niagara standards.
That is a very significant piece of property, and it's all owned by the Reif family, so it gives us a lot of flexibility with experimenting with varieties and working what's best with our soils here. So.
And I think that's key too when you talk about family. At Reif Estate, one of the things that I think I always keep near and dear to me is the family values and the fact that employees, many have been here for such a long time, and that's such an amazing thing to happen now in our wine community.
Definitely is. Like me and Klaus go back 20 years plus, like you mentioned, but we have a strong team that's been here for a long time, and that just speaks volumes to the relationship that Klaus creates in the winery and the feel that he wants. He wants it very family oriented, and just kind of to work as a team for, you know, as a team to be successful as a team. He always passes the glory. He never takes it all to himself and his name. He's very good that way.
Oh, that's wonderful. So it really is Reif for life.
It is Reif for life.
Well, thank you, Rob.
No problem.